What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Fourth and Go here on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. I'm Dave Gleckner. That's Marc Tomasini. We were off last week, but that's okay because we're back at perfect timing. So much to talk about. Phillies are hot. Sixers news breaking just earlier today. We got some Flyers draft recap as well, some trades and maybe some future trades. And then you always got to talk NFL. That NFL is still king. But with that said, let me bring in the man, Marc Tomasini. What's up, brother?
What up? What up? We're thriving. It's Thursday. There's beer slinkies going on out in the outfield.
Yes.
Right now, Phillies are hoping to sweep top of the ninth. Bryce Harper stepped into the plate. Hopefully they can hold on, fingers crossed, and see if they can make it through. But tonight's the night. And I was listening to the radio earlier today, and they were like, "Oh, it's slop. All this, free agency slop stuff. All the reports are going to come out." But a bomb drop probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock this afternoon, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we definitely will. But as far as the Phillies go, we'll see 3-1, like you said. And the reason they're up right now is because they had the plate. He finally broke through, got a single that drove into, I think, back in the fourth or fifth, and that allowed them to get this 3-1 lead as Schwarber led off the game, first pitch home run. All right, so we'll get on that Phillies talk. I do want to talk Phillies talk, but let's start with the Philadelphia 76ers, who you just mentioned. A little bit of a bomb dropped in. I'm telling you, Marc, I couldn't be happier than the news we received. I couldn't be happier hearing that James Harden opted it in and now wants to get traded because we can get something for him and we can recreate this roster. I think it's great news. I think there's nothing but sky's the limit for what kind of Daryl Morey can do now, because a $35 million player at his caliber, I think, creates a lot of flexibilities in who you can trade with. And it brings in a lot of possibilities. You could tag Tobias with him. There's just so many things that they can do. And I've got some ideas already, but I'm sure you do too. And I just want to get your feeling, because my feeling initially was wow. And then it was, oh my God, this is great. Because in the end, Daryl Morey chose the Sixers, not his buddy Harden.
I get that from the standpoint. Now, thing is, I'm probably not as positive about it as you are, to be honest. Full disclosure. My whole, we had all the debates throughout the offseason, whether they should blow it up, whether they should extend Harden, whether they should, give him 2 years. Like the whole, we go through it. And honestly, my first reaction was, all right, this is what everybody wanted. Let's see how this turns out, because I think he is one of the best options that they have to be contenders this upcoming season. And, it's all going to depend on what they can get in return for him. But I think, I don't want to say people aren't seeing the forest of the trees, and I'm not, coming at you or anything like that. But I think he was able to make Joel Embiid the MVP. Like, there's a lot of deficiencies in his game. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if there's a better option that they're going to be able to create. Now, there's a possibility that we're going to see Maxey take off, but I don't know if Maxey is ready or if he will ever be that number 2 guy on a championship caliber team. So it kind of bears the question, what is this team going to be moving forward? But it could go, if they get a good deal, great. But it seems like the thing that's been sorted out so far is Norman Powell, Marcus Morris from LA, from the Clippers, for Harden. And to me, I'm a Norman Powell fan, but to me, that doesn't really do anything for me.
No, that's not happening. And I tell you that with full confidence. That's just a salary match, and people are just out there just saying that's what would happen. Marcus Morris doesn't fit here with Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker. It just doesn't fit. They'd have to do something else and get a third team involved. But let me ask you this. There is no way, no how, no nothing that Harden was coming back here on a $35.6 million contract. So if you wanted him to come back, you had to probably at least dangle 2 years, $100 million, if not 3. You want that old man coming back here?
No, of course not. No, I understand. It's even if they re-sign Harden, it still was damned if you do, damned if you don't, in my opinion. I know everybody's ready to cut ties, but I think it was their best scenario. But here's the thing. It's not a full-blown conclusion. It most likely is, but it's not a full-blown conclusion that Harden's gone. He might just be strapping onto this to know that this is his, like, he's at least going to get $36 million essentially, this season, because maybe the market really was saying that nobody was going to give him anything close to what he wanted. So he locked in 35.6 for this year. So maybe that was the market telling him, you're not worth what you think you're worth. And I will say, to your point, Daryl Morey chose the Sixers. He didn't choose him. So that's a good sign to start. But you get what I'm saying? Like, maybe there really was no market. Maybe all this.
No,
again,
remember
how mad I was. You know, you think that
I'm just saying. Here's what I don't get. Like, yeah, like he's worth more than 35 million. Harrison Barnes just signed a 3-year, like $60 million deal. Like, he's in the mid-20s, like or something around there.
No, he's 3 for 54.
You're telling me Harden? Yeah, I'm just saying, like, Harden knows he was worth more than 35. The reason he's doing 35 is because it lets him kind of pick his destination. Teams could not afford him. Now, where I agree with you was that not a lot of teams had cap space for him, right? So his thought was, if I can opt in, I can make myself available to other teams like a Clippers. Clippers couldn't pay him. New York can't pay him. Yeah. And then get the new deal. And then you could do that. You could restructure and then sign him once he's yours. Right. So
that's also
I just think
risk on his part.
I think the bigger
he's
risk was
he's one of the best free agents this year, even though it's not really saying much because it's not really a great class. Next year,
but 3 teams could afford. 3 teams could afford him. The Sixers, the Rockets, and like the Spurs. And those teams weren't going to touch him. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that they're going to lose that production and they're not going to replace it. That's what I'm afraid.
I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to be smart. He stunk in the playoffs. He's going to, he had a couple of good games. I get it.
I know, but
you're never going to win with him. It wasn't going to work. And in the end, I think he made the right move, because if he goes to a team, then he can resign and it doesn't hit their cap. Like, you can resign your own players, right? And do all that stuff. But C's checking in. What's up, brother? We talk Clippers. Bulls is interesting. I haven't heard much about the Bulls yet. Here's my dream, and we were about to get into this. Let's get into this first. My dream is to find the way. They were not in the Dame sweepstakes. Could they be now? And that's not Harden going to Portland. That's probably Harris going to Portland. Could you package up Tobias and Harden to different teams in a 3-way trade and now maybe create Dame Lillard here? I think it's possible. I really think it's possible.
Now it's definitely possible. I mean, the NBA, you can make anything happen. And I know Windhorst mentioned, Dame could still be a factor. Look, if you get rid of Harden and Tobias, look, I think I've kind of just taken the other stance just to take the other stance in a devil's advocate situation. But I also, in my heart, do feel that I am a little apprehensive of what this team is going to look like without Harden. Again, and I'm not saying that he was the life, soul, and breath of this team, but if they do the right things, if they make the right move, then obviously, if they can pull a trade with LA and they get Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, great. I'm not because honestly, what the Sixers are missing is a wing.
I agree.
That's what is always going to be the issue. They have no perimeter defense, and they have no perimeter, real perimeter scoring. That's what they're missing. So, I mean, Paul George is the perfect, because I think I love Kawhi, but he's never there. He's never available. So you can, unless you literally are just all right, he's going to play 20 games in the regular season. Maybe we'll get him in the postseason. That's what you're hoping with him. Paul George, I think he played close to 60 games. That's still not an amazing amount, but it's enough. And he's somebody that I've wanted for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I've always been a Paul George fan. If they pull something like that, Harden who? Like, I'm not even.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like I said, my biggest fear is the production. And
Well, let me ask you this.
having a facilitator like that who can shoot the three. Yeah.
With the Knicks, I'm hearing a package of Obi Toppin, Emmanuel quickly, and then maybe some other fringe pieces like draft picks. I'm actually okay with those two too. Like I think those
Are
two.
you though?
I am. I absolutely am.
Quickly and Maxey are the same player.
No, Quickly's off the
I
ball.
think so.
Quickly's off the ball. He can play off the ball.
That forces Maxey to be the to really be the point guard. I'm just trying to think. If you were to throw something like that, you have what? Obi's your 4 now.
Yep.
Embiid, Maxey, Quickly, and Tobias, PJ. What are we looking at?
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you do move Tobias eventually, I don't know. You might even be able to do some things. Don't get me off. There's another guy out there floating out there, Van Vliet. Now I know that it's probably not going to make. He declined his option, so the only way you're going to be able to get him is to sign him, or Toronto goes back and signs him and trades him. But it's that's another one that I'm very interested in. Van Vliet, I think, would be a good fit here.
Van Vliet would be a good fit
because then you could play Maxey off the ball.
Yeah. But then what else are you getting from New York? Like RJ Barrett? I mean, that's you would have to get.
I would love Barrett. I feel like Barrett's not coming, but I would love Barrett. But like in my heart, like why do they need Harden when you have Brunson? Like it doesn't that like it doesn't make sense. But I know I
don't think he's a Thibodeau player. I don't think Thibodeau wants Harden.
No. All right, we got him. Phillies.
Yep, saw that.
Yeah, and then I mean, I heard a little like maybe the Celtics will be a dark horse. That's another shoe we got to keep an eye on. And I'm not saying we're not getting Jaylen Brown for James Harden. That ain't happening. Don't worry about that. But Brown ain't staying there.
Right.
Yeah. I just think, it'll be interesting if
how would you think that works then?
Brogdon and Robert Williams. It's a salary match.
Well, Brogdon, I don't think can be traded now. He's got a serious injury. That was part of the reason why his part of the deal fell out. In that
I'm just hearing salary match. Yeah,
right.
I hear you. Yeah,
they found something serious with him. He had some kind of either illness or something that I think was the reason why the initial Porzingis trade fell apart.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
look at these Phillies. 5-1 against the Cubs this year. That's good. Yep. I think they struggled against them last year, the Diamondbacks last year. So
first sweep in Chicago since Cole Hamels was last pitched that no-hitter before he got traded to Texas as the last time. Odubel missed playing balls in the outfield and just making it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's a big listen, the Cubs aren't trash, right?
No.
They were playing near 500 ball until this week. So it's a very, very, and we'll get into the Phillies in a few minutes here, but I just want to roll back one more time looking at this. Tomorrow's going to be fun, right? I think everything opens at
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Appointment television. Really, appointment Twitter, phone watching. That's where it is. It comes on the phone before your computer or your TV.
Yeah, I think it's going to be The Sixers were irrelevant in the draft, and they were looking irrelevant in free agency because they had no room. Now everything kind of circles around the Sixers tomorrow with Harden opting into this. So we'll see. I never thought my biggest fear, and that's what I'm getting back to, was that Harden would just walk. And then if he walked, we couldn't even, we were already over the cap or right up against it. We got nothing.
We would get maybe a mid-level exception. That's it.
I can't believe we're going to get something for him. That's what I'm getting at, and that's why I feel good.
I know. I'm just like I said, I have my apprehensions. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Daryl works this and we get a legit piece back. That would be.
Well, let's look at the NBA champions real fast before we get off this. What is around Jokic besides Jamal Murray?
I know. There's a difference though. They were working on a system. They had a system in place. The system went through Jokic, and Jokic had Jamal Murray. And I get what you're saying, but I don't think right now. As much as I love Maxey, he's not Jamal Murray.
He's not all the way Jamal Murray, but
Jamal
he's like
Murray can pop off at any time.
yeah, he's like Kmart Jamal Murray. I mean, he's capable. Like he's not Walmart. Like
Again, you know me, I love Tyrese Maxey. I just don't think he has that game-breaking ability right now.
oh, he can drop 30 if he's going wild. Like
30, but I mean, but Murray's like a guy 40, 50 points he can put on his back. He can put the team on his back for real. Like,
see,
I think there's a little bit of a difference there.
I think they're closer than you think. And I got you. But you build it back around Embiid, and say you had to end up keeping Harris, which they won't because of that expiring contract. But just say you build it around Maxey, Embiid, and Harris and filled it in with some really good players like we just talked about, Powell and maybe something else. It's not as bad as you think. It's really not like – I don't know. I think they can really compete next year if they round out this roster like Denver did. You don't need 3 stars to win. You don't. And Denver helped prove that. Yeah. Miami's helping prove that. I think they can – if you round out a good roster, you can be all right.
That's the case. I mean, they're going to need consistent shooters, consistent scorers. I mean, if they could get, like, honestly, if you could bring back Seth Curry some way, somehow, like, because I think there's the possibility we lose Niang in free agency.
It's possible. I think they offered Paul Reed a
restricted. He's a restricted free agent now, so he has a qualifying offer out there.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we can speculate all we want. It's tough, but like I said, if we could get Seth Curry back, that would be great. You have a shooter off the bench, guy you don't have to start.
Is he a free agent?
He is a free agent.
Okay, yeah. He just gets injured a lot, but we love him.
Right, but I mean, he had a good rapport here with Embiid, and I think he would be a good, much more consistent. He's still one of the best shooters ever in the 3-point shooters ever in the league.
No, I agree. And that's what I'm just getting at. It's like, I wouldn't be that concerned. Look, I will not walk away from James Harden and say he was a disaster. He wasn't. He was good for us. Yeah. And I really appreciated how well he played this year, especially from the standpoint of getting in shape and trying to make this work. And like you said, he got Embiid to the MVP. I just couldn't hang my hat on a 33-year-old that's fat and slow and just can't finish in the lane. And it's not going to get better. And to know that we're going to get something for that, I just hang my hat back on that, and I say Sixers are going to be okay. I think they can actually be better now.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, I know. I was like thinking about it like yesterday. I was like, oh, this is going to be boring. Like we're going to get the announcement that they signed Harden for 3 years, $130 million, and that's it. Niang walks. They made that qualifying offer to Paul Reed. They throw somebody else in here, a former Rocket or something, and then call it a day. Obviously, now we're looking at a complete different game plan. It's going to be exciting to say the least.
It is. I can't wait for tomorrow now. And that's what we didn't see the Horford thing coming a couple of years ago. We didn't see Jimmy. There's going to be something that we don't see coming. And that's why I'm just throwing all of these possibilities out there. And when Adam talked about the Bulls, I hadn't tossed that in my mind. I know Levine is kind of like a bait. There's no way Harden's going to Chicago. We get that. It had to be 3 teams involved. But I like Levine. My problem with Levine is he's just so 35 points to 12. And it's just – but maybe on a team like this, you just got to stroke the threes. He's going to be good.
There's another player that I think that they could be trading Chicago.
Who's that?
DeMar.
You think they're going to try and trade him?
He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's an expiring contract. They could.
I guess they could. I just feel like they want to build around him more than they want to build around Levine.
It's.
Well, they're getting Vucevic a big deal.
They just brought back Vucevic, right?
Yeah, and I
don't think Levine gets moved now because they brought back Vucevic.
You can't keep coming back with DeRozan, Vucevic, and Levine and keep getting the 9th seed and losing.
That's why they moved DeRozan.
Yeah, one of them has to go. Okay, we're on the same page. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah,
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I don't really understand them bringing back Vucevic or signing him before free agency, but I mean, they have a plan. They know what they want to do, and that's what they want to do. He's a good player. I don't understand it though, but
I would take DeRozan.
Yeah,
harder move. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you're losing 3-point production, but then if you can sign a Seth Curry, somebody to come off the bench and hit threes for you, because DeRozan he's lord of the mid range.
Yeah.
Much.
It's Jimmy Butler. They don't shoot threes.
Yeah. Jimmy shot a lot more threes than he did, though. Like, I mean, DeRozan.
I don't disagree, but
DeRozan.
Jimmy was 1 3 a game or 0.9 threes a game made. DeRozan was probably a half. I agree.
Yeah. I just think in this game they need it. So 3-pointers. So
it's going to be fun, and we'll definitely be talking about it more tomorrow. Now let's talk about those Philadelphia Phillies. As our boy Adam talked about, a few others checking in. Thanks. I'm excited, and I can't believe it happened again. And what I mean by that, there were 7 games under 500, and now 6 games over. 13-game swing in the span. I think 18-5 in their last 23, something around there.
That is correct. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, and look, we all knew this team had talent. We all knew that the pitching could get better, because that's where I was hung up on. And the offense could get better. And I know you were looking for a little more life there. But for it to happen almost at the same time as it did last season, it's just crazy. But, I mean, I feel really good. We're 1 game away from the midway point, 43-37. Projected win total, 88-89, right around last year's total. That gets you in. Believe me, I know they're a game and a half out of the playoffs right now. That's fine. That gets you in. The teams they're competing against are San Fran and Miami. I'm fine. I'm not worried about either of those teams. Cincinnati's in the mix too. They have a good little young nucleus, but can they really traverse this? Yes, sustain's the perfect word. Really what they're battling with are the Braves, which they're not going to catch. Yep. And then you out west, Arizona and LA. Out of that, the Phillies, I feel, are 4th best team. And then, a couple of teams will fall that way. I'm just really excited for the fact that Ranger Suarez is dominant. Taijuan Walker is now dominant. And, Nola's running, his way. He's not horrendous. And Wheeler, good in here and there, but has had some really good starts. With those 4 intact and the hopes of Andrew Painter coming up here, even though Chris Sanchez is feeling okay, Painter in August.
Yeah.
This could really be a dominant front end, like a good pitching step. The bullpen's been really solid too. Yeah. Kimbrel has just been lights out at closer. We haven't had that since God knows when. I'm excited, man. It looks like a very, very well-rounded baseball team. The one we thought when they signed everybody, not coming out of spring training because we knew there were some injuries, but now they're doing it without, some guys that are hurt too, obviously with Reese and some other pieces, but Sir Anthony's down but they're looking good.
They're taking care of business. I mean, it's definitely good to see. And this is right now with a struggling Harper. I mean, Schwarber's, besides hitting home runs, he's been struggling. I know his on-base percentage is decent, but, he's been having a go of it. He almost hurts you sometimes. But, I mean, they're raking. They're taking care of business. I mean, Taijuan Walker, he had a less than 1 ERA for the month of June, 5 starts.
Yeah.
Pitched 32 innings and gave up a couple runs. 5 great starts. I mean, that was something that we were all like, yikes, we signed this guy to 4 years and $72 million. And I heard something on the radio a couple weeks ago, which was really interesting, because I think we were all convinced, not knowing the situation, we were all convinced that he was hurt. He was pitching hurt. Yeah. He wasn't. It was his conditioning. He just
a little that.
But he said it. He said, I don't feel right. And he changed his conditioning. And ever since he did that, he's been pitching the way he has.
Yeah, and I don't mean to say that you're wrong. It's also his pitch kind of usage. He's jumped up the splitter rate by about 20%.
Of course, he has to change mechanics too, of course, to make that effective.
Yeah. But that's interesting to say that it's condition based, because God, you get $70+ million. Come on, bro. Get in here and get in shape.
this is not what we, signed up for. And then really it's Walker and it's Suarez and exactly what Cease is getting at right here. Like Ranger was hurt and it just took him a little bit to get back, but he's in the groove now. And I mean, he's one of the more reliable pitchers on the team. It's absolutely crazy. Like he showed his stones last year in the playoffs. That was huge. And, he got a slow start, but it's like, it's coming around. It's coming around. Ranger Suarez has really done something going from bullpen to being a legit starter. I mean, he's at worst a legitimate number 3 at worst.
Yeah.
Like he could be number 2 on some
I'm not worried.
That kind of
Am
stuff.
I worried about Nola? Of course, I'm worried. The biggest thing I'm worried about, there's been a bunch of those in 0-2 counts. And I just don't really love the way he's, pitching this year from a standpoint of guys that have bashed him still bash him. So he's not adjusting. And then I'm talking about Austin Riley's and the guys from the Braves. They just hit bombs off him on the regular. And then being too cute in the strike zone when you have advantages over the hitters.
Right.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. And like he's had some games, and it happened the other night, 8-0 lead, something like that. Still lets up 4 or 5. Right. And then there was a 9-0 that he let up 5. We got to bleed him through 5 innings just to get him a win when we score runs for him. I am concerned, and I think for him, it's not as much velocity. He's been actually hitting his decent velo numbers lately. I just think it's location.
Yeah, and that's the thing because he doesn't have he doesn't really have overpowering stuff. So if he's not finding his location, he's kind of useless in my opinion. And to be honest, and I think this makes my case more. I'm right now not interested in bringing him back for anything close to what the market's what the Marc's going to tell him. I know it's hard. I know it's just one of those things, but it makes you. I mean, obviously we're seeing the emergence of Ranger Suarez, but we still need somebody else. And I know, I would love somebody in there in between Wheeler and Suarez if you can, obviously, but there's not going to be a lot of pitchers available in free agency. But you hope that maybe Andrew Painter makes himself out of something because you're looking at a potential rotation of Wheeler, Suarez. I mean, I know I'm putting the cart before the horse. Don't get me wrong. Just looking at it, but Nola's just not consistent enough. He's just not reliable enough. He's not giving you what you need from a number 1 or a number 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that he's making a case to not be here next year. And there's ways he can be here if he wants to take a hometown discount. And maybe then that's what we need. We'll see. But yeah, I'm a little concerned for sure with Nola. And like you said, Ranger and Walker right now, I'd take them at the top over Wheeler and Nola. Now, Wheeler's like one of those guys who'll dominate, and then the next game he might slip up, but he'll give you 2-3 really good starts and then have a slip up. So I have more confidence in him, obviously, than Nola. What's that?
No, I was saying, of course, I am having more confidence in Wheeler.
Yeah, but really, going back to this 18-5 swing, I wanted to get your opinion. I went down there last weekend, and winning that Mets series on that absolutely unbelievable 8th inning on Sunday, I think might be a turning point in this season for this team. And now you get the sweep of the Cubs, right? I mean, they were already on the right way, but they didn't win a series against the Mets in 2 years. And then to get that one when you're down 7-4, I think it was, or something like that, going into the 8th inning, and you muster maybe 1 hit, 2 hits, I forget, 2-hit batsman walks, all this crazy stuff. The Mets freaking imploded. They gave it to us. And I just think that could be huge for us going forward. I think that game we're going to circle.
I think so too. But the funny thing is, in the moment watching it, it was frustrating because you're like, can't sustain this way because I think they were down 6-5. It was either 6-5 or 7-6. No outs, bases loaded. They really should have had 10 runs by the end of the game.
Yeah.
They should have won that game 10-6 or 10-7, whatever it was, because they had the meat of their lineup, and they had bases loaded, no outs. It was disappointing in that aspect. But I agree with you. I think it's one of those, even when things aren't going your way, they turn to go your way. And it momentum, the baseball gods, kind of everything just all came together in that moment. Yes, was it really the Mets losing the game and not the Phillies?
Yes.
100%. But in baseball, things are weird. Things quirky happen. And this was like you know what? This team is about to go in a direction that they're supposed to be going. So
Yep.
I agree with you. I think we might be looking at that and being like, oh man, remember when Aaron Smith or whatever, kept walking guys and kept hitting guys and we won that stupid game. Oh yeah, we swept the Cubs after and
now we got the Nats.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, wins are momentum builders. Momentum is what this team is gonna do, and we could be looking at this, same type of team last year, just riding the wave.
Yeah, see, be careful. 6:05 tomorrow night. I hope you already know that. You probably do. I think they're shooting off fireworks tomorrow, so a little earlier than normal games. Going to be fun. I think I'm going to try Sunday. I think I'm going to try and get down there Sunday and enjoy that day, but. Mark, let me say this because we did this last year. Confidence on them making the playoffs. Give me a number between 0 and 100%.
60.
All right, I'm going to go 80. I know they're out of the playoffs right now, but this team is just too good. They're just too good to not be like. And look, I tipped my cap to the Marlins. I mean, I had an article on WinDailySports.com this year where I said the Marlins should go over their win total. I had some confidence in not this, not 48 and 34, like not what they're doing, and they're doing it without CD Alcantara, or Alcantara. They're doing it with a lot of good stuff, and Luis Arias obviously is just amazing.
Yeah,
but I just don't know if they can hold on. And like we said earlier, San Fran's had this spurt. I don't feel that. I don't feel Cincy. They're getting one team out of NL Central. So I feel really good about the Phillies and where they're headed, and they're just playing good baseball. Now, if we could get rid of these base running mistakes,
right,
and we could get a little bit more production out of the leadoff hitter, and like you said, and some other spots in the lineup, I'd feel even better.
Sure.
I ask you this: now that we give our percentages, how long can we live with Schwarber and leadoff? I just can't. I don't know that I can do this anymore.
I think we're stuck with it for the rest of the year.
I was worried about that. Like, I would argue with people, I'd say it worked last year, not when you bat 180.
I know.
Not this year.
But unfortunately, I think they're going to stay with it. I think they're going to stay with what works for him. Now, maybe it gets cold in July again, and but if he's still hitting homers, they're going to keep him there, and it's you're just going to kind of have to live with it. But Turner's looking better. He had a couple of hits tonight. He hit the ball both ways. He went left and he went right. It's not ideal. It's not what I want. He should be in the 5-hole protecting, but that's not how he works. He's better off in leadoff, even though he's batting 180. We're kind of stuck.
Right. So if you could fix one thing on this team, what would it be? Because we got a trade deadline coming up too after All-Star break near the end of July. I know it's almost a month away, but what's one thing that you would like to see fixed on this team?
I mean, for a while there was fifth starter. It still could be fifth starter, but with the news that Painter could be back in August, I mean, it helps. But at the same time, they're also relying on a rookie. I mean, young blood to jump in there. But we've talked about this. You and I have said how it's kind of might work out in their benefit because you're not going to have a restriction on him because he'll be fresh. And then the other is, a corner outfield bat. But I think it's just, it seems like I've been hearing things back and forth, like whether Harper is going to play the field or not, whether he's ready to or whether he's not. I think that his arm is still bothering him, but I could be wrong. But if you can get him at first and put Schwarber at DH, I mean, it definitely changes the lineup for you. You either have, I guess you have Pache playing left more consistently, and I think the more at bats for him would be helpful. But I think after all of that said and done, I'm going to go back to fifth starter. I think would still be where I want to fix because as much as I love the idea of Painter, I think they need something more secure.
I don't hate it. I like it. I'm going to go corner infielder, and maybe that's kind of where you're talking about the recipe with Bryce Harper coming in and playing first base, because then that allows Baum to be more. Yeah. Listen, like early in the season, Sosa had a really hot streak. April. Since then, he's batting like 150. I like Sosa. Don't get me wrong, but Harrison hasn't been much as advertised. Nice little fill-in. Yeah, and I've heard rumors of maybe Scott Kingery coming back. He's playing well down in AAA, but in the end, I think they are batting. Like I know Bowman has like 7 or 8 homers this year, decent RBIs. First base is Cody Clemens right now. Nothing like they really have nothing out of the quarter infielders. I think they're like 26th in WOBA. I think they're 27th in on base percentage and 28th in slugging. Like it's not good at the corner infield. So maybe Bryce fixed that. I get it. But there's got to be something there. So that's where I just want to see a little bit better of an offensive production out of the corner. Boone came out, hit 3 homers in his first 10 games, 2 in Texas, I think. Has 4 since, like in 2 months. Like the power that I thought was coming isn't coming. Now his RBIs are up. He's still good contact. So I would just like a little more out of those positions.
I didn't hear why, because I was listening to the radio as I was on my way to my sister's earlier tonight. Before I got to watch the game there for a little bit. But why was Bohm not playing tonight? Did they say just a night off? Is it just a...
I didn't hear why. I mean, it was like JT on Tuesday when Stubbs.
You can't see. My issue is you had Harrison and Cody Clemens out there tonight.
It was ugly.
At first and third. Yeah. You got to go one or the other. Like you got to have one of your guys in there. And again, I know we're relying a lot on Sosa. I think he's a good fielder. I think he can be a decent bat. I think he hit a homer the other night, but you need at least one of those guys in there. I don't. So the fact that you could throw both Clemens and Harrison out there, it says you force somebody in there. I'm sorry, but can't do both.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
That's on Topper.
It is. And beauty of Topper, and before we get off the Phillies, is I have doubted several of his moves this year. And we always will when you're in that position as a lead ball club manager. It's very tough to be a baseball manager and even get 50% of things right. But he's got a long leash for me. And we're seeing that kind of payoff where you look up at New York. I don't know what they're going to do with Buck Showalter. I mean, they're shaking their heads. Topper's got at least, I'd say, through next year for me, until I really get to a point of look, if they miss out on the playoffs this year, they get the halfway point next year and they're not doing well. Okay, maybe that's my line in the sand, but he's got a decent leash for me.
If they miss the playoffs this year and it's their fault, not like other teams are like right now. The one thing that's been going on while the Phillies have been winning, the other teams have been winning too. They can't control that. The Braves are still winning. The Marlins are still winning. Everyone's winning right now. If the Phillies blow it and if they don't make the playoffs based on themselves and bad performances and losing series, like the way that they lost the Chicago series last year and the Diamondback series last year and, making things scary at the end of the season there and getting some help from Milwaukee. I know they get. I think you have to look at the managerial position. If they don't make the playoffs this year, it's their fault that they're out of it. Not like
so you give them this year. You're only giving one full year.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think we fall in love with guys and we stick to guys, and I just think he's been questionable. I know they're not. This is me being kind of dark cloud Mark a little bit, but I have a shorter leash.
Okay, that's fair. I think he's earned this full year, and he earns to start next year. Even with the collapse of this year, I mean, look what Showalter is doing. Look what some others have done. I think he gets them to the World Series. You got to give him a year and a half. Year and a half is where mine's right about this time next year.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yours is definitely a more logical take, and I think it makes more sense.
They like him too.
I get that. And that's what I'm afraid of, though. It's we like him.
No, but the players need to that's baseball.
No, I get that too, but I just feel like he's been pressing a lot. You acknowledged it earlier too. He's just been pressing a lot of wrong buttons, and I don't know if he's ever going to be the guy that's really going to truly make the right decisions. I think everything was working in their favor last year, but they're playing well again now. They keep going with this, then it's going to erase all doubt. But like I said, just tonight, having a lineup out there that had Harrison and Clemens, it's just like, you're playing the Cubs. They're not as great. They're not doing amazing. So I get it. But that's a shit lineup you're putting out there. Pardon my French, but I don't think if Bohm's available, you can't put that out there. I was like, you gotta be kidding me when I heard them go through the lineup like that.
Yeah, I hear you. I just listen. They're doing this, and they're 6 games over 500 now, which is probably the high point of the season for them. And
it is.
It's Harper 3 home runs. It's Schwarber batting 180s. It's Turner batting 240. The only guy that's really I'll give Stott, but the only real guy that's above expectations is Castellanos. He's been great. Yeah. He's been great. 1.5 guys above expectations. And Stott has been very good. Don't get me wrong. I actually think he's the best leadoff hitter for them. But
right. But we'll never see that again.
But they're doing this. That's what I'm saying. They're doing it.
Like almost in spite of
the subpar season from Wheeler so far.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of disappointment too. I totally get it.
Yeah, but hey, I'm excited. 43-37, bring home the. They're gonna have a tough stretch coming up, but getting this series against the Nationals will be big before we get into this All-Star break. And then after that, I mean, I'm looking at the Phillies here. They got, I think, San Diego right after the break. So we got the Nationals, and then we got the Rays, the Marlins, and then the break. 2 pretty good teams, Florida teams coming in after the Nationals, and then it's Padres, Brewers, Guardians, Orioles. So it's going to be a tough stretch here in July.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have their work cut out for them. But I think the Rays are going to be a really good test. I want to see if we can. Marlins are always a team who has our number, so.
Yep.
They go and take 2 of 3 from the Marlins in Miami because they always have those issues down there. They go do that. I'm happy.
And listen, we got a Nola Eflin battle coming up.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. July 4th. Yeah. So a lot of work to do, but really good sweeping. You got to take care of business, win series. I don't ever ask for sweeps, but you get to sweep, it's even better. And now we got the Nationals coming up, win that series, get to 7 games over. And God, if they get the sweep, it's 9, but we'll see. So that wraps up for Phillies talk today. Really happy, really excited. I think we both are, but also a little bit guarded too, because we know there's an uphill battle still to be won. Talk about winning. I don't know if I can say the Flyers are. But what I can say is I'm taking in this roster reshaping with a kind of open mind. Now, do I think they completely got ripped off in the Kevin Hayes trade to St. Louis Blues? Absolutely. But I also realize that when you draft a guy that's 3 years out in Michkov, you're just trying to dump everything.
Yeah.
Project for 1, 2 to 3 years out. I just don't understand getting a 6th-round pick and then paying half the guy's salary. I just don't. I mean, it just tells you that Tortorella is the problem here, and the problem to the point of they just don't mix. But is Tortorella going to be here in 3 years? Hell no.
No.
So then why are you going to trade a guy out, save all this money, draft a guy that can't come here until 26, 27, and then tell me the problem is Tortorella and them don't mix? I'm just getting so many mixed signals from what this offseason is. And I know they're dangled some other guys out there like Lawton. I know they're dangling. Obviously, we've already traded Provorov. We talked about that the other week. I think Hart is at least talked about. I don't think it should happen. But I even have – they're talking about what's his name too? The center on the first line.
Farabee?
No. Scotty.
What'd you say?
I said the little guy on the first line. Why am I?
Oh, Konechny.
I was saying I know
You
it's
said
just
Scott. I was like, I thought you just said Lawton. But
no,
yeah.
Lawton. I talked about before,
But
but
yeah,
Travis
yeah,
Konecny, and
TK.
they've talked about maybe him. I'm like, they're just like talking about everybody. I get it, but are you really trying to be that shitty next year?
They're tanking. They're tanking. Whether you like it or not, they're tanking.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
guess I hear you.
but they
It's
kind
just
of have to blow it up. I mean, they have to blow it up.
yeah, they did get left for dead with the previous GM Chuck Fletcher
They
here.
did.
Just I mean, and D'Angelo has to go. Like all this other stuff has to go, and it will go.
Right.
It's just it's rough to see because really gives you no hope. I mean, we've been bad the past 2 years. We have. We're gonna be worse next year.
Right. But but see, this is the thing. You have to kind of buy into this right now. It's the way. And I know we're looking at the Sixers and we're still in a muddle of doubt and everything. But I mean, look, if this kid is what they believe he's, what he can be, in 3 years, we're going to have good hockey in Philadelphia again. It's just kind of going to, be what it is. And if you look at the way that they drafted today, I mean, they took a couple goalies. Now I know they're kind of just throwing, they're spitting at the wall and hoping it sticks. But I didn't know this, but I only found this out yesterday. But, there's a lot going on around the whole Carter Hart scenario. I don't know if you're aware of it, but apparently there is a scandal with the Team Canada hockey team. There's a rape scandal with them. So the reason why, there was talks about Hart being traded out there. And the hope was that all information about that would have came out sooner. The NHL wanted it out sooner, but it's not. And it's still under investigation. And we probably won't know what's going on with that until the end of July. So it's after free agency. It's after the draft. Then we're going to have an idea of what's going on. I mean, obviously the hope is he's clear of it. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Carter Hart is going to be the goalie here next year. I think there's a couple things that can change that, but this is a big scenario. It's a big situation. There's still more to come. So stay tuned on that front. But
so you think something in Canada is gonna make them trade him? Like, I mean, that's
no, it's not because of that. I'm just saying the reason is anybody who's associated with that team, their name is not clear right now. So they can't do anything with him at this point. I think teams are going to be reluctant to pull the trigger until they know, whether a player like him is innocent or not. This is just what I heard. I think it was Anthony Sanfilippo who was the one that was dishing out the information with regards to that. It seems like a lot of the Canadian teams are interested in Carter Hart.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're not going to trade him. Doesn't mean they are. But we already know that they had, I think they like Urson, and obviously there's the Russian kid who, couldn't come over because of the war or whatever, and that whole thing. But obviously they had a couple of prospects already, and then they drafted more today.
I think Urson went the pick after too, but there was no. I am like, for me, I like what they're doing. They had 2 first-round picks, and this was a deep draft. I'm glad they didn't trade out, move around. Right. You need to just start building and they do have some good young players. Don't get me wrong, like Frost and all the others, but
York, Cutter Gauthier, and that's
yep.
They're a lot of high hopes are riding on him. Farabee.
Yep.
So
yeah, and that's, I mean, like, take your 2 picks. I'm okay that you stocked one, with the 7th, but I just know that we're gonna have to, and it sounds like you're on board with this. We're gonna have to kind of feel the pain for a little bit.
We've already fought it for a while anyway.
Well, we fought it, but we felt like we were just stuck. Now we're just gonna feel it and knowing that maybe there's we're half past the end of the tunnel. Like, at least there'll be a light. Yeah.
This is what I wanted them to do like 2-3 years ago.
Yes, I agree.
I wanted them to do this before. What was frustrating is watching them go and hustle out a couple extra wins. And, like you said, Chuck Fletcher, he's going, oh, well, we're the 5th most improved team. You were shit, and yet your record wasn't that. You were just complete garbage. And then you won a couple games that you probably had no business winning. And now you took yourself out of Connor Bedard. Now, again, there's reasons why that, really a lot of people are saying that the kid that we drafted really is the second best player in this draft.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Skill-wise.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree that when you say I wanted this 2 years ago, and I agree, except for this. If they would have just signed Johnny Hockey last year, I think that could have been a quicker way to circumvent.
Right.
Like, we wouldn't have had some of these dead salaries. We could not I don't know. There's some pieces that they didn't have to sign last year and instead sign and trade for. Instead get Goudreau in here. And I think there's a quicker way to rebuild around it. They didn't, so now it's going to take a longer. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Trust me. You think I didn't want Johnny Hockey? Of course I wanted Johnny Hockey.
Yeah, and here's another good name. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah. There's high hopes on Wade Allison for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's now we know they're in a rebuild. We know they're, putting it together. They could have another high draft pick next year. Then in a couple of years, we could be seeing the beginning of I'm not going to say a dynasty team or anything like that, but a really good competitive hockey team and a team that's all we want and a lot of talent. And, like I said, and so all right, let me ask you this question, because when we talked about this at the beginning of the offseason, I told you where I was with Carter Hart, and then I just told you that information Now knowing that it's a full rebuild, would you trade Carter Hart?
I still don't.
Okay.
And one of my biggest reasons is hockey can turn around a lot quicker than some other sports. You'd be surprised, and you still got a guy, what's he, 24, 25? Like, it's young.
Right, he's very young. Sure.
And I would want to give it this year to see where, if we have an upward trajectory in towards second year and we're starting to build something. And then I'd know if I need to, trade away Carter to get some assets. I'd trade away Konechny right now. I would. I think you could buy high on Konechny, and that's where you could stash a couple assets maybe. But I'm still on the Carter Hart bandwagon. It's too hard to find guys like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm still on. I think you can strike while the iron's hot right now.
Adam, I hope not. But
there's
right now, who's going to take that salary?
Right.
And I mean, it's going to have to be a Kevin Hayes. It's got to be a Kevin Hayes type deal. You bring back absolutely worthless, a bag of pucks and pay all his salary. Now, NHL's kind of mandates you can't pay more than 50%. I think that's why there was a hang up originally with the Hayes trade. But God, I think unless we just take an L, he is coming back. But I think they'll find a way to take an L just to play the younger guys, some of the guys you've named, some guys Marc named. So I'll say he's not, but we're going to have to just swallow the pill here and know that we're probably going to pay everything for him to not play for the Flyers.
Yep.
All right, bud. So tonight, that wraps up some hockey talk. There was a good golf match going on with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. And it made me think of this. I know the NFL is coming up and NFL's king, and we're going to get there, and we'll talk NFL quick minute on the way out. But if you had to play with either of those groups, which one would you rather play with?
Obviously, especially after the Super Bowl, it's Steph and Klay.
I know. But Travis and Pat seem to have so much more fun, have much more personality. But I hear you, because it's Philly and what happened in the Super Bowl.
No, I don't know. I'm mad on. I used to not stand. I could not stand the ground that Travis Kelce walked on, but getting to see his personality more and everything like that, he really seems like he's a pretty stand-up guy and everything like that. And I'm not the biggest fan of Mahomes. but I lean Curry. I really have no say towards Klay Thompson. He really doesn't move the needle for me.
Dude,
It's
he's
more
too
like I
good.
would just love to be around Steph, but also he's like too good and stuff like that. So it's really tough. I think personality wise, it would be Kelsey and Mahomes, but I just don't want to be around them because of the Super Bowl.
I
So
love it.
that's why I'm sticking with Steph because I think he's awesome.
I love it. Yeah, for the same reasons you said, like I would definitely rather drive in a cart with Kelsey and
Yeah.
even
Yeah,
Mahomes. He was having some fun. But I can't stand them. I can't look at them in the face. I couldn't even like enjoy my time with them. Like there's just no way. And Klay Thompson could not say a word, and I'd still have a better time with Steph and Klay. Like I can't. And if it wasn't the Eagles and we were somewhere else, it would be those two all day. But it's the Eagles. It's still too close, and it's still too like you're watching Kelsey, and rightfully so. Getting to some barbs with like Jamar Chase and some others out there. And I get it. And he's right. Protecting his quarterback. He's fun. And his brother plays here. But it was them last year. If Cincinnati beats us in the Super Bowl, I'm probably playing with Kelsey Mahomes. But I can't.
100%.
I can't. So with that said, the Eagles don't have a lot, flying over the radar right now. So we won't get into them too much. But the one thing I want to get with you is, and it's been a little bit since we talked about it, but NFL just came out with some gambling suspensions. It doesn't seem like there's going to be anything that really impacts teams. 2 players from the Colts. I think there was one other player. There's like 4 total, right? One got 6.
Tackle from Tennessee.
Yeah.
I forget who the other one was. I know Cam Robinson, the tackle for the Jaguars, but that's not gambling. That was a PED.
Yep.
Violation, but a couple suspensions were handed out today. Yep.
So I guess I ask you this, and it's very hard for me to sit here, and I know they have a no gambling policy, but when you put like those, like you build like the Eagles Stadium has a gambling like place inside it. You put some of these patches on that. I think it's a little hypocritical. I'm just saying. Listen, if you're betting on your team or you're changing the outcome in your game, no way. You got to go, right?
Yeah.
But like if we're finding these like minuscule things that really are just don't impact it, like you're programming the fans, and while you're doing that, you're programming the players. Like to see this all the time, all these commercials, like it just feels a little weird. That's all I'm getting at with these suspensions.
Well, I mean, like the Colts players. Like I think the one who he got released today, he was suspended for at least a year, but him and the other Colt player got released. Neither of them are really well known. Like I think people in India know them, but besides that, nobody around the nation really knows them except for now. He bet on like a rushing leader for the Colts rushing leader. Like, okay, you obviously have that insider information. Like, you definitely played with fire.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Like, and it's not just gambling, like it's other stuff, and not going to get into it, but like outside the realm of, things that are outside sports, but you say one thing, but then you do another thing. And it's kind of like money's talking and money's speaking. And we're giving into everybody's vices right now because, it puts money in the pockets, and you're just saying now that it's legal, it's okay. But then you get penalized. You get penalized at jobs. You get suspended for doing it. Again, like you said, you gamble on your own team and you change the outcome of the game. You should be thrown out first offense, like just like that. But it's really awkward. I think the whole thing is awkward. I think, it goes to governments and stuff like that, like giving institutions the rights to be able to do things that you shouldn't. And I think a lot of everybody's just doing things in the name of money, not in what's good for the people themselves. And then you have situations like this, and it's stupid on all sides, on every side of it.
And it's stupid on the players. And I get it.
Outside, the players' side, the team side, nobody looks good in this scenario.
No, they don't. They really don't. But the NFL is going to be they're going to be rolling into this thing real quick here, and it's going to be fun as we get into the summer here, start talking about NFL. We'll start getting into some fantasy stuff as well as some, divisional previews. And then obviously we'll have our big show before the season starts. But NFL will be here soon. But that's the biggest news out of the NFL right now. And with that kind of wraps up what we're doing. I do like that C said, I've seen the blow up ball trick. That would be pretty fun if you just put one on there, got these guys fired up because I'm with you. I couldn't be with them, but if I did, we'd have to do something like that. With that said, Mark, that wraps up a great show here on a Thursday night in June. Thursday kind of being our new norm right now, which I kind of like. We're getting into that, baseball transition phase. When one series ends, we go into the next one, and we're really getting ready for some other sports here in town. And tomorrow is going to be fun with the NBA free agency. You got anything else?
No, I'm just, repping Fourth and Go.
I love it.
On the sweatshirt.
I love it. And if you ever want one, TeePublic is where we have them at, still online. I know that, I still got some shirts I've gotten from there, and some other fans have too. But thanks for everyone checking in tonight, especially Cease for commenting. We are Fourth and Go on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. We love talking Philly sports, 4x4, and so much more. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us afterwards on the YouTube channel. And we appreciate it. And we'll be back next week with a whole lot more to talk about. Until then, enjoy. 7 days away, maybe 7 more wins for the Phillies. We'll see.